They're Ferrari owners, there are young Ferrari owners, and then there's Callum. Callum, good to meet you. You've got to be quite unique. I understand you bought your first Ferrari when you were 10 years old.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How did that come to be?
I made this app. I was always into computing when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I always used to be into computers. I absolutely love them, and I created an app. I kind of messed around with it. I thought it was really good, so I sent it off to Google to see what they would think about it. They said, right, fantastic. They put it on there. It turned out to be really unique, really popular, and they gave a lot of the money to me. Then after about a year or so, when I was 9, I made 8.5 million. So then eventually I was looking around at all sorts of cars, Mustangs, M3s, and I thought, with all this money, you've got to have a Ferrari. And I was always looking at, people were always telling me 360s, 430s, go for that 'cause it's a new car. But I looked at the James Bond film with the 355 in it and thought, that's such a unique car, and it sounds like an F1 car. So I bought it from Autofacino. I absolutely love the car to this day. And I got a new exhaust and it sounds even more like an F1 car. I've took it to all sorts of track days, had so much fun in it. But to this day, I thought I've had it for about 3 years, so I thought maybe it's time for a new car. So I said to my dad, as soon as I had the major service, I would give that to him and buy a new car. And I say car, I mean cars, because I thought one might have been a bit limited for me. So I thought I'd get the 458, and I was thinking, well, that's kind of like an everyday car for me, but then I want something that I can really use for the track. So now I got the 599 GTO over there. I was always looking at the HTB, and it was such a good car. I test drive one, and then I heard about the GTO coming out, and that sound, I loved the sound of it. That was probably the most unique thing about it. So I test drive one, and I loved it even more than the standard 599. So I had a massive query about whether I should get that or that, and I thought, I can't make my mind up, so I just had to get both of them. I use this as an everyday car, and it's perfect for the sun. And I was thinking of the coupe, and then straight away, as soon as I was making my mind up, they brung the Spider out. So I thought it's absolutely perfect. The GTO is not a Spider, but that's kind of like a track car. I absolutely love the car.
I completely understand your sentiments about the Spider. If you've got a choice of a two-seater and you can take the lid off, why not? That's what it's all about, noise, wind, everything. When you meet other Ferrari owners, do they take you seriously? Do they believe you when you say, I've got 3 Ferraris?
No, they do not believe me one bit. I have to get it out for them. Then after maybe 2 months, they actually believe me. It is quite funny because they don't believe them when they actually see it. You just see their jaw drop.
You must feel really good when that happens, surely.
I do feel like it's a unique thing to happen when a teenager's driving around a Ferrari around the track, because people, they see a Ferrari driving around and they're looking even closer, and you see a little kid in it. It's just it's very unusual to see someone like that inside, which then brings queries to them saying, oh, why are you driving a Ferrari? And then I have to tell them the whole story again. And, yeah.
I'm smiling because it's such a brilliant story. I mean, I love success stories, but I think yours has got to be somewhat unique, really. Having done the app, what are your plans for the future? What happens next? Now you've invented that app, are you going to invent more apps? Are you going to start collecting Ferraris? What happens now?
Well, a bit of both. I'll be collecting Ferraris whilst I'll be coming up with new ideas. Technology is evolving greatly. If you look since when I was 8, when I first got the 355, and to now, just looking at the cars, even built sat-navs, you never would have thought that, but now really every car comes with it. So I think as technology evolves, I'll come up with new ideas, come up with new things to do. Then hopefully I'll make something even more unique and then make more money off that, and then hopefully have a nice life.
You definitely got a gift. Is there something you fancy that you haven't quite got yet? Is the car rather than the Ferrari yet that you maybe?
I always wanted to. I looked at the Ferrari. That was always. It looked like a stunning car. But then I realised it had already been ordered out. So, but I always like to test drive one. I just need to. I need to see what they're doing. I need to see if the price goes up. Seeing if they're idling at the same price or if they're just gonna go all the way up again. So I'm really hoping that maybe one day I could have one of them.
Wonderful. Let's take a look at your other ones.
Yeah, let's do that then. It's just over there. 599.
You're going to tell me this is yours as well, aren't you?
It is, yeah. This is my track toy. This is what I use for Dunsfold, Dad's Day Out, or the Brands Hatch.
So you get to drive them?
Yes, I do. No, not many people believe me.
Callum, on instinct, I mean, really, don't take this the wrong way, mate. I should hate you. I really should. I'm afraid I can't, and you're a bit bigger than me as well. So you get to drive them. What's this one like to drive?
It's a bit, you know, if you put your foot down a little bit, you know, it's quite gradual, but then if you really put your foot to the floor, then your head's going to go back. But I think it's a lovely car on the track. It's a very big car. I mean, a lot of people say it's a massive car. But I think for driving around the track, it doesn't feel like a big car. It's really nimble around the corners. The back end hardly ever comes out if you put it on race mode. The gear changes are unbelievable, and they're not really jerky at all. And the sound is just unbelievable with the V12.
I think Ferraris have got the paddle shift really off to a par, particularly on the 458. Which, between the two, do you prefer, the 458 or this one?
I actually prefer the 458 because when you change gear, it makes a really nice sound, like a really crisp sound. This really kind of just changes gear because it's, you know, when you put, I usually have it in race mode every time I drive it. So it's really just about trying to get it to the next gear as quick as possible. With that, I leave it on normal, which allows it a bit of time to then go back to the next gear. So then it kind of has a bit of an idle, which is a really nice sound. Yeah.
Last question for you. Do you tend to get women throwing themselves at you yet? Do you get begging letters? How do you cope with fame?
Well, you do get the odd, you know, girl coming up to you saying, "Oh, you've got a Ferrari." You know, they all get excited, and then it then goes on to them to asking your number, and then you just kind of think, if I didn't have these cars, they probably wouldn't be coming up to me, would they? Which kind of just leaves me a few years, because I don't really want a girlfriend, you know, at this time. It always lasts for 2 weeks, and you feel like you're dead, and it's just such a pain. So I just want to kind of get on with my life, get a nice house, and then eventually might then settle down.
Callum, I wish I had as much sense, and I wish I had the brains that you've got at your age. I wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
What's it like being Callum's dad?
Well, I guess it's a bit of a double-edged sword, really, I suppose. One half, if you've got a son who's a bit of a genius, and the other half is he's a genius, so therefore he's could be quite pedantic. He's a teenager with a few quid, and I guess with that comes a few headaches, I suppose. But nevertheless, we're very proud of him. Yeah, he's quite particular as a teenager, and I mean, as I say, with that, he's not the most generous with his money. Let's say. So he's something, rather. Yeah. It's but yeah, he's very particular. He spends his money on what he wants to spend it on, and the rest is put aside, and yeah, just accumulates interest.
Did you realise, you know, when he was sort of 3-4 years old, that he'd have that talent? That it is a form of genius, I suppose. How many people do that? Was that immediately apparent, or is it just something that happened?
He's always been technically very able, and particularly with computers and particularly with software, and even from the early age, sort of 5 and 6, he was able to, you know, manipulate most programs and find back ways in. And frankly, at 7 or 8, he was losing. I didn't know what he was doing, quite honestly. Still don't quite understand what he does, but certainly whatever the items is that he's producing and the products he produces seems to be popular, seems to be well purchased, and as a result of that, it pays him a lot of money.
Absolutely incredible. Which of his cars do you fancy the most?
I think certainly the 458. He's not let me drive it, but certainly the 458 is a lovely looking car. But he gave me his old 355, so I've got that now. So that sits in the garage being looked after. But certainly his newer range, 599, I think is a bit big. The 458 is a bit more V8, something that I would prefer. But as I say, he uses it on tracks and then it goes away, so it tends to stick in the garage a little bit. Love him.